So if you are ready to find the goals, they can be finished. So they are libraries. Okay? So these are the things that we're talking about. Consumption. What about savings? When we're talking about consumption, we're talking about spending on goods and services for consumption. What do we spend? We spend what we earn. So for example, if you are working, you earn a salary. So your salary, your income, in case of a salary, is not always equal to C. You don't spend all of it. First of all, on the income side, for whatever income you have to subtract tax. And that gives you what we call disposable. Meaning, that's the income that is available to you. Your salary, you must minus the taxes involved for you to find what the money that will go into your account. So this income can be salary, it can be profit, it can be rent, it can be interest. You remember the factors of production? How? So if you are using the income approach, okay, you will be doing things like this. Okay, now even here you have to deduct taxes, right? Because, for example, if you run a company and you have declared profit, not all of that money is available to you. Not all of that money is disposable to you, to the company. So you make your profit, MRIA guys come, get their tax away, and what is left is what is available for the company to spend. They do not spend all their gross profit. That's why if you read in the newspapers, you will see maybe National Bank has declared so much profit after tax profit. They will indicate after tax profit. Okay, because then that is what is available to distribute or to spend. So, therefore, income defined in this way will never be what you get in consumption. Because income has to be deducted, has to take care of tax first. So what you have is the disposable income. So we'll be talking about consumption only in relation to disposable income. In any case, in any scenario, when we are talking about this consumption, spending on goods and services, we are only talking about the income that is available, disposable income. Okay? which is income after tax. That's what disposable income is all about. Now, this disposable income will go to consumption. But sometimes not all of it goes to consumption. Whatever is left is what we call savings. So, this disposable income minus what is consumed will be equal to savings. That's the concept. So savings is that part of disposable income which is not spent. That part of disposable income that is not spent. That is not spent on consumption, on purchase of goods and services for consumption. So that disposable income that is not spent is what is called savings. So your disposable income, disposable income will therefore equal to C. If we take C the other side, it becomes a price, right? Yeah, so it will be C plus savings. Are you refusing, Clement? Oh, okay. I thought I saw you shaking your head. Okay? So that's the disposable income. So if you put in a formula, you can say income. Usually when we say Y, we mean income. I mean, Y usually we represent it by, income is represented by Y. Okay, so disposable income will therefore be equal to C plus S. Okay? Guys, when you come late, don't make noise. Because otherwise I'll be forced to make sure that once I start teaching, I lock the door. Yeah, because they are disturbing you guys who have come early. They should respect you. Whoever comes late should respect those people who came early. Okay? I'm serious about it. Yeah, so how does investment come in? Because here we're talking about savings. What is investment? Investment is type of money which you put on the ground to make more money. Oh, it's type of money. Okay. This is the way we were locating the circuits. Typically, without financial. Allocating resources, you said? So if you want to define investment in relation to consumption and savings, how can we put it? How can we put it to be clear? Remember, we're talking about disposable income. You have money now, okay? After the tax person has removed whatever is due to them. How do we talk about investment in that particular scenario? We have said disposable income is equal to consumption and savings. You have spent, and whatever is left is savings. Okay? Well, if you are buying something, if you are spending something, we have said consumption in this case is defined as consumption on goods and services that you will use. You will use them. You will eat them or wear them or whatever. Now, supposing you are buying something that is not for consumption at that particular moment. If you are buying something that is not going straight to consumption, but whatever you are buying is bought for the sake of producing goods that you will consume, or making more money, then that is investment. So investment is spending on goods which are not for current consumption, but these goods will be used to produce consumer goods and services. So if you spend money to buy seed, maize seed, or fertilizer, for example, that expenditure is not consumption, it's an investment, because those goods that you have bought will be used to produce what you will consume. Okay? To produce what you will consume. Now, what does it mean? It means later on when you be consuming, you will not be consuming things that you have bought. Are we together? You will not be consuming things that you have spent money like buying them. You bought goods and services to produce something. You didn't buy those things to go straight and eat them, or wear them, or use them. But you bought those goods and services, you spent on those goods and services so that these goods and services can produce you something that you will eat or you will use later. So it's like your consumption has been postponed. Okay? These things that you have bought, they are not immediately going for consumption. They are being used to produce what you will consume. So the time you'll be consuming, it will not be that you have bought, but you bought something that you used to produce them, and then now you eat them. Now you use them. Okay? So it's an expenditure on goods that are not for current consumption, but they are goods that will be used to produce you more goods or to produce you new goods so you can consume them. Okay? In the future. And when we are saying the future, we are not talking about, we haven't defined what the future is. The future can be 2 days, it can be 1 week, it can be a year, it can be whatever. What matters is that you are buying something that is being used to produce, to give you a flow of goods and services later on. That is investment. And I should be very clear. Let us be very clear. It's not the same as, say, for example, I have bought something and will eat later. I have bought something and I'll eat in the future. That's not investment. Are we clear? So if you spend money on something that you want to use, but it is in the warehouse, you will use it later, that is not an investment. An investment is when you buy something, that something will produce things for you. Are we together? So that's the idea. Don't be confused with, for example, ati huyu wadya mpamba. You've heard this, eh? But business inarani inasokonekera anadya mpamba. That's not the idea of an investment. Imerija inali ndalama sana gule zintu to produce other things. So that concept should be very clear. Something you have bought, something you have purchased, but they are not for immediate consumption. Those things you have purchased are gonna be used to produce things that you will eat or use. So it could be money that you have put in. But those things that you have put in, you have bought with that money, are not gonna be available for you for consumption on that particular day or any time in the future. Those things will be turned into something else that you will use. There will be some conversion. Those products will be converted. They will be producing things. And it's those things that have been produced are the things that you will eat or use. Uvesana? Hey. So it's not the money imeni wadyayo. If you buy something and eat it today, it cannot be an investment because it's not producing anything for you. It can't be. But if you buy something today and tomorrow it starts producing things and those things you start eating, there was an investment. So this the time frame doesn't matter when we say producing something for the future. This future, don't be, it can be, I don't know, maybe it can be hours, it's possible. What kind of things that you can buy and within hours they start producing you something? You can be, you can, for once you can be serious, my son. Come on. Come on. That's not a, that's gambling. That's gambling. Okay, so there's another thing that we need to differentiate. Let's have these concepts very clear. When you consumption, spending, what you have spent on consumption is not always equal to what you have consumed. Okay? What you have spent on consumption is not always equal to what you have consumed. Is that true? Yeah. So if we calculate what we have spent on consumption this year, 2024, what we have spent on consumption is not necessarily equal to our total consumption in 2024. Why is it so? It is so because sometimes we consume what we bought last year. Okay? And sometimes what we have bought, we don't consume all of it today. So if we were to calculate our total consumption as of today, Thursday, by the evening or midnight, it will not be equal to what we have spent on consumption today. Because some of the things that we have bought today, we have not consumed all of it, or we have consumed more than it, because we also consumed what was left yesterday. So total consumption is not necessarily the same as consumption spending for any particular period of time. You will see why we are talking about this, because we want to look at theories of consumption. So there are various theories that will now explain what I am trying to drive at. That consumption, total consumption today is not necessarily equal to total spending on consumption today. Okay? So it can be goods that you have purchased today, okay? And sometimes purchased in the past. Or what you have purchased today may actually not be used, you may not actually use all of it today, just as we are discussing that you might be consuming what you purchased last time. It means what you purchased today may actually not be all consumed. So consumption spending must and can be different from total consumption. Now we'll also look at the relationship that we are trying to depict here. The relationship between disposable income and consumption. Is it linear? If disposable income goes up, do we also increase consumption? do people always decide how much they will spend based on their net salary? What other variables come in apart from their disposable income? Decisions about consumption or consumption spending, are they all solely based on what we are saying here? That consumption spending, this C, will always depend on disposable income. What theories are there? How can we back up what we are saying? Has anybody done a study that has established that consumption will always depend on disposable income, or there can be other variables to consider? So we have a theory which is called absolute income hypothesis. Absolute income hypothesis. This was proposed by an economist called Maynard Keynes. Maynard Keynes. He is a very famous guy. Keynes. You have heard of Keynesian economics. Okay? If you have heard of Keynesian economics, this is a British economist who is quite famous in economics. He proposed several models explaining economic variables. So Maynard Keynes, an English economist, is the one who came up with the explanation. When we say theories and models, I'm sure you have, in some of those notes, those many notes you were complaining about, there are some in there which are economic concepts, blah, 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 okay? Some of them explain what we mean by a model, what do we mean by a theory, okay? So this theory of consumption proposed by this guy, Maynard Keynes, is basically trying to explain the relationship between consumption and disposable income. So a theory is something that tries to explain. A model is something that tries to explain, and for it to become a model or a theory, you have to prove that that explanation is correct all the time. It is correct today, it was correct yesterday, and it will probably be correct in future. That explanation is always correct. But you know, in academia, you sometimes can come up with a research paper that has shown that that explanation is not correct. So you can criticize a theory. You can come up with an alternative explanation. That will be an addition to knowledge. So that's why you have critics. Every theory or model can be criticized. But suffice to say that it's an explanation. So the absolute income hypothesis, it says that consumption depends on current disposable income. Consumption depends on current disposable income. So this guy is saying that both consumption and savings, remember what disposable income is? Both consumption and savings are directly related to current disposable income. And not just directly, but there's a linear relationship. What do we mean when we say linear relationship? Remember, you in your calculus, you have covered things such as linear equations. Okay? So if we are saying there is a linear relationship, what are we saying? What we are basically saying is that it will move in the same direction. What do we mean by saying the relationship moves in the same direction? It means when disposable income increases, consumption and savings will also what? Increase. It's a linear relationship. They move in the same direction. Okay? So what do we mean? So for example, if disposable income, we can have disposable income here, we can have consumption here, we can have savings here. If we had a table, okay? If we had a table, we will see that if we had 250,000, 200,000, 150,000 as our disposable income and it's decreasing, we will also have our consumption. Let's say if it is 210, it means if this is your disposable income, you have spent 210, something has been left, okay? Whatever is left is what we call what? Savings. So we will have 40 there. Okay? If the income changes to 200, okay, our consumption might also change. Okay? So it might change, let's say, to 170. So now our savings will be 30. We can continue giving another example there. So 150, let's say our consumption now reduces to 130. Our savings will be 20. So you can see that this is a linear. This is, the relationship is here is that when your disposable income goes down, you also try to reduce what you spend. And also, therefore, whatever you were saving before cannot be attained. Your savings will also go down. Just as an example, how is it possible that your disposable income would go down? A real life example. What can make your disposable income go down? What is disposable income? Nafuta hapa, I wrote it here. What is disposable income? It's your income minus Yeah, disposable income is what you take home after your earnings. Your earnings, meaning, for example, you sell your labor, you sell your labor services. Mwagulisa mphamvu zanu, or your labor, you get paid. But the tax money, when you get paid, the tax money comes in Ngwanjo. It can go down, for example, if taxes go up, or it can go up if taxes get reduced. Okay? So you remember, the tax band has been increasing. What has the government been trying to do there? Increasing the tax band. You remember? I think they moved from, is it 50? No tax. If you earn 50,000 below, there was no tax. I think in 2020, and then Abwana Sopanoa, another Sinta, 200, 100 and below, no tax. Panopa na Sinta, so it's 150. Anybody, I mean, around less than 150 as a repeated song. What are they trying to do? They are trying to increase this thing. They are trying to let Malawians have more disposable income. That's the aim. I'm sure tizamva nditu kuti yafika 200 mwina posa jedwa. Si tukupita wizi sango. Asangalase anthu kaya. Anyway, I'm not being political. What I'm trying to say here is about disposable income. This is education. This umuni. We are trying to say what can cause a disposable income to change. So one very good factor is the tax adjustment. Okay, they can squeeze you also by apart from disposable income, which is like this, reducing the tax band. They can actually increase the tax rate above 150. Ngati amadura 20%. If you earn more than 150, amadura 20%. They may now say this is kudurani 40%. So actually, they are not losing. There might be a net gain. You get it? My tax band amakara, let's say like here in Malawi now, it's 25%, 30, 35, 40, like that. So if you get 150,000 free per month, the next from 151, the next 350, you get 25%. Okay? The next kind is 30%. Okay? So if you are earning, let's say 650, tingo panga machisanso. Some of you are doing human resource, I'm sure. So that might help those who are doing accounting. Okay? So the way they will calculate the tax is they will take away 150 first. They will put it here. What is left there? 500, right? So if it is left 500, the next 350 is taxed at 25. So they will take 350 times 0.75 to find imene ibere apa. Tapanga ni calculator. Mafoni yanuwo. 350 times 0.75. I think it's 266, I think. You see? Mento. 262. Mwati? 0.5. Kuma na ponya not 266, but okay. So now apapa tatengapo sipa nasara 500. Tatengapo 350 pasara 150, right? So 150 muichite now 150 will come at 30%. Okay? So 150, that's what? About 100? About 100 and what? 110? 100 and 110. 150 times 0.7. It should be about 10. Okay? 105. Now your net salary, your disposable salary will now be 150 plus 262 plus 105. That will be your disposable, your net income. Zukubera bwanji zimenezo 300, 400, 500 and 500 and 517. So this will be your net when your salary is 650. Your net will be this. But you see how we have calculated your net. We have taken away the tax-free band, the next 350 at 25%, thereafter 30%. So that's the issue of disposable income. I digressed a little bit just to give a practical example in the classroom. Now, what we are saying is that you will increase your consumption as your income, disposable income increases. That's the absolute income hypothesis. You will increase your consumption as your disposable income increases. So we are talking about the likelihood of you increasing is positive. The likelihood of you increasing your consumption when your disposable income increases is positive. This likelihood is usually called propensity. So your propensity to consume, propensity is the likelihood. How do you behave? Propensity. Tengani maoje ni ano. Mafoni ano. Masiku ano paja mmatero twanaini. Propensity. Like this. Propensity. What in grammar, what does it mean? Can you check the meaning of propensity? In English, in economics, is basically the likelihood. The propensity. What is propensity? For you go to China, masiku are not phone to imagine this also. What is propensity? What is the meaning of propensity? Meaning of propensity. What are you doing? Why you are scrolling like this? Propensity, I thought you were supposed to just to type. Huh? What is this saying? Oh, okay. Anybody who has found it? What can you read? Yes. So I was correct. It's the likelihood, tendency. So the propensity to consume, the propensity to spend more is positive when your income, disposable income increases. So the propensity to consume, the propensity to save is also linked because this is a linear relationship. Remember, we said it is a linear relationship. So the propensity to consume and the propensity to save will have a positive relationship with the movement of disposable income. When disposable income goes down, the propensity to consume will also be going down. The propensity to save will also be going down. Because it is a positive linear relationship. In the notes that I shared, there are some mathematical derivations of this relationship, this thing here. Okay? We can start playing around with this. I know some of you are very afraid of mathematical derivations, but what is important is that this relationship, we can play around with it as many times as we want. Consumption is equal to what? Savings is equal to what? And then we can start substituting. Okay? What is consumption? We said consumption is related to what? Disposable income. So we can say, for example, because it's a linear relationship, plus maybe B, YD. This is disposable income. This one here. What is savings? Savings is what? YD is YD minus C. Right? That's what we said. Tunanena hapo. This disposable income remained with YD. Okay? And you can start substituting. So if you have YD will be equal to C is this thing, right? Okay, maybe the best way is let's substitute this one here. So We have just opened this, okay? This was minus C. So this C is this thing. So we substitute it in here, and then we remove the brackets. Is there any problem there? The way we have moved from it's a constant. Okay? Can we simplify that? Can we simplify that? Okay? So let's have minus A on its own. Okay? Okay? If we simplify, let's have this one on its own. Okay? Is this one here. We have just put it here. So that these can now be together. This can now be together. This one is plus, right? This one is minus. Are we together? Can we simplify it? Huh? It should be what? Disposable income tiike pamozi pamene popo. So this one is disposable income. So if we say disposable income iyi tiike pamozi, what will we have inside? Apa tachosapo, right? Apa pali ichi, right? Yes. We are trying to put into brackets this thing. So tachosa mawaidi apite kunja. Okay? If you put these, you can take a red car. This is why when we are teaching economics with people who don't like Masamu, and we are trying everybody to be together with us, it becomes so difficult how I can balance it without losing some of you as my students. Okay? Is easy is this thing alone is what we are trying to bring out. So YD is common uku ndi uku. So we take it outside the brackets. Iyitayika apa mukati musala chani apa pa usala 1 apa pa usala minus b. Si choncho? Yeah? That's what we are trying to do there. In other words, we can just to make sure tuuzivesa bwino bwino. Okay? Just to make sure tuuzivesa bwino bwino. We can bring chiYD chikhali mbali ya uku. Okay? chiYD chikhali mbali ya uku. It's the same thing whether tachipita uku or umene kuchiri uku kaya tachika uku. Doesn't matter, eh? Down here we have just put it the other side. Are we together? Now, what we are trying to do there is just to measure what we have stated as marginal propensity to consume plus marginal propensity to save. Okay? So basically, what we are saying here, we are talking about marginal propensity to consume. As you know, marginal propensity to save. Remember, disposable income, what did we say? This YD, what did we say? We said is equal to C plus 1, plus S, right? Yeah. So it means this plus this will be equal to this. These two. Okay? So if here we had no, don't confuse that. Don't confuse the issue of consumption spending and total consumption. We talked about consumption spending and total consumption. Those are things that we said that can be different. Here, what we are trying what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that marginal propensity to save plus marginal propensity to consume should equal to 1. So if for example, you spent 80% of your disposable income, you only have 20% to spend, to save. So if you saved 60% of if you spend 60%, you only save 40 of your disposable income. So 40 plus 60 will always give you 100, right? So 60%, how is it written? Sometimes it's 0.6, right? That's how you write 60%, right? 40%, how do you write it sometimes? 0.4, right? And that's why 0.6 plus 0.4 should give you 1, meaning 100%. Okay? So the marginal propensity to save plus marginal propensity to consume, they should always give you 1. And that's what we're trying to do here in that equation. So we have minus A plus. So if you spend 60% on consumption, you must have whatever is left is because you are subtracting. So you can put this thing as YD 1 minus B plus, minus A. Okay? Sorry. Nagasi tikama yankura tikasiya basi za baralikaso. Ule detu ndija